friends. It's Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's July 31st, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. Quite a bit to get to today on day 153 of the Iran war. Tragically enough here now. Looks like things are going to continue to escalate. I'll go over that. Trump had a cabinet meeting today. Take a little bit of a look at that. Latest reporting. U.S. aardvark land planning joint bombing campaign against Iran's energy infrastructure. Take a look at that. That's ZBS News. Yeah, a bunch of mainstream reports that we're getting ready to bomb the hell out of Iran again. So expect that at any time. I just checked CENTCOM. They haven't announced anything. Obviously, they announce it after or during the bombing campaign. So we may be bombing Iran heavily during this broadcast. I expect it to come at any time here now. What else do we got? A warning about this big push for testosterone. Now we're seeing what was announced last week out of the Department of War, big initiative to screen soldiers for their testosterone levels. They're pumping it again out of the Department of War. We'll take a look at that, the medical implications there. What else do we got? We got Epstein news as per usual. We got a bunch of economic news as per usual. We got the weaponization of migration. Now we're seeing them hit in Spain. We'll circle back, take a look at that. Spain says they kicked a bunch of these Moroccans out already. So we'll take a look at that, all the implications. Aardvark Land's basically saying we did it, right? They're behind engineering it. We'll take a look at the Claregi plan, the dreaded far right-wing conspiracy. We got a bunch of geopolitical news and the controlled demolition there in Lebanon, and Gaza continues. Trump announced earlier today, oh yeah, we have a peace plan there with Hezbollah. They're going to disarm and everything's going to be wonderful there in Gaza. And as soon as that announcement was made, aardvarks went on a major bombing campaign in Gaza. So there's your peace. There will be no peace. And Ben Gvir said, I put the quote, what's the quote in the headline? Ben Gvir said, peace council not acceptable. So there you go. We'll take a look at all those details and much more on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. Thank you for joining us. I see a few people coming online. No one in the chat there yet. Shout out to Mac if he's out there listening. All right, let's get to this day in history, and then we'll get to all this news for you. On this day in history of July 31st, we go back to the year 1703. Daniel Defoe is placed in a pillory for the crime of seditious libel after publishing a politically satirical pamphlet, but is pelted with flowers. On this day, 1777, General Lafayette, Marquis de Lafayette, aged just 19, is appointed a major general of the Continental Army. Imagine that, a 19-year-old kid nowadays being appointed major general of the Army. That was the case on this day, 1777. 1790 on this day, we saw the first U.S. patent granted to Samuel Hopkins for the Potash process. 2 years later, 1792 on this day, we saw the cornerstone is laid for the first U.S. government building, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia. On this day in 1813, Britain invades Plattsburgh, New York. On this day in 1853, you could call it gaslighting, I guess, here. On this day in 1853, we saw the first nighttime surgery performed at a hospital in Lemberg, Ukraine, using new kerosene oil lamps. First nighttime gaslighting surgery there, literally gaslight. 1912 on this day, the U.S. government censors movies and photos of boxing prize fights. This remains in place to 1940. On this day in 1917, very tragic battle there, Battle of Passchendaele. World War I's Battle of Passchendaele begins and lasts until November 6th, 1917, causing approximately 500,000 casualties. On this day in 1942, allegedly German SS gases 1,000 aardvarks in Minsk, Belarusia. And all I could say is check the wood door for that report. On this day in 1960, Elijah Muhammad, leader of the Nation of Islam, calls for a black state. On this day in 1970, the final Black Tot Day, the last day of the officially sanctioned rum ration in the Royal Navy, which started in 1740. A very sad day there. On this day in 2018, Facebook discloses and removes a Russian-linked network of sites attempting to interfere in American elections. That's so laughable. Remember the Mueller report? They said, yeah, after this, that, and the other, everybody's a Russian. They spent like $100,000 on Facebook ads. So there you go. You're a Russian now. And on this day, just last year, 1 year ago, President Trump announces plans for construction of a permanent ballroom, B-A-A-L, ballroom. Get it? Yeah. Adjacent to the east wing of the White House, saying it won't interfere with the current building. And we've come to learn it's a big scheme, scam, fraud, just like everything Trump touches. It's gonna be a bomb shelter for them. And they're gonna have drone launching runway there and the like, and so they can all go hide in their bomb shelter after they piss the rest of the world off to the point they bomb America, and we're left out here hung out to dry. But these assholes have a bomb shelter, the ballroom there. So isn't all that wonderful for them? Not so much for you and I. On this day in our civil liberties history, we go back to the year 1942. Supreme Court upholds military commission, German saboteurs to be executed. On this day in ex parte quorum, the Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of the military commissions, which had tried and convicted a group of German saboteurs who had landed in the United States by submarine on the 12th of June, 1942, 6 months after Pearl Harbor and the U.S. declaration of war against Japan and Germany. 8 German saboteurs landed in the United States, 4 on Long Island, 4 in Florida, in what was called Operation Pastorius. They were immediately captured tried and convicted by a special military commission, and 6 were quickly executed. The affair of the German saboteurs began as a virtual comic opera, but immediately evolved into a legal case with serious civil liberties implications. All of the 8 saboteurs had previously lived in the United States and spoke English. Soon after landing in the United States, one of the saboteurs turned himself into the FBI, and all the others were then arrested. President Franklin Roosevelt determined to have them quickly executed, and not trusting civilian courts, on the 2nd of July had issued an executive order creating a special military commission to try them. In fact, in an act of complete contempt for due process, he told Attorney General Francis Biddle that he would not turn them over to civilian authorities, even if ordered to by a court. Meanwhile, in a clear violation of judicial ethics, that's a conspiracy theory right there. In a clear violation of judicial ethics, Supreme Court Justice Felix Frankfurt secretly advised Roosevelt on how to frame the military commission so as to pass the scrutiny of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of the commission. On this date, the saboteurs were then tried in a secret session before the military commission and were convicted on August 3rd, 1942. Roosevelt commuted the sentences of 2 of the Germans because they had cooperated with the prosecution. The other 6 were executed on August 8th in 1942. I'm glad they were transparent about that and fully out in the open with the American people. And of course, they afforded those dirty German saboteurs due process, as we would expect out of this criminal government. On this day in our civil liberties history, 1979, President Carter proposes charter for the FBI. President Carter on this day released and sent to Congress a proposed charter for the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the FBI. The charter was never to become law, but would have been the first ever governing document for the Bureau. The proposed charter was an outgrowth of the Senate Church Committee investigation of FBI abuses and other intelligence agency abuses against the American people. The proposed charter spelled out regulations to govern FBI use of informants, undercover agents, and the investigation of covert criminal activity. The Church Committee investigations had exposed FBI harassment of citizens, unauthorized wiretapping, and burglaries by FBI agents, among other abuses. The proposed charter permitted wiretapping, but only with a court order. Gee, that's great of them. And so there you go. Your FBI is a criminal organization running around screaming law and order, violating your natural rights. Go America. And on that note, we got one. I wanted to bring this up because everybody's reliving the glory days of the bat times with the Fauci hearing this week. I wanted to bring this up. And the longtime listeners of Weaponized News know we painstakingly documented the scientific dictatorship rolled out in the 1940s and 50s by Huxley and Sir Bertrand Russell. We went over documentaries painstakingly outlining their works, telling you back then what was to come today. Flashback to Bertrand Russell, 1953 here now. Scientific societies are as yet in their infancy. It is to be expected that advances in physiology and psychology will give governments much more control over individual mentality than they now have, even in totalitarian countries. Fitch laid it down that education should aim at destroying free will so that after pupils have left school, they shall be incapable throughout the rest of their lives of thinking or acting otherwise than as their schoolmasters would have wished. Diet, injections, and injunctions will combine from a very early age to produce the sort of character and the sort of beliefs that the authorities consider desirable, and any serious criticism of the powers that be will become physiologically impossible. Bertrand Russell, 1953. See where we are today? All right, here's a segue to the news. I guess good news. They're not running. They tried to float the idea Iran did a cyber attack on Minnesota, and now Trump has poo-pooed that idea. I guess this is good. Trump says Minnesota did the cyber attack.
Today, I just want to mention that we heard in Minnesota there was a cyber attack, and they blame it on Iran. I don't think so. I blame it on Minnesota because they're grossly incompetent. There was a cyber attack of 30 water plants, and I would blame it on Minnesota and the governor, the corrupt governor of Minnesota. Today, I just want to mention that.
I guess that's good. They're not blaming it on Iran. Maybe it was Iran. Who knows? Who knows? But at least they're not blaming it on Iran right now, as if it makes a difference. We're set to bomb the hell out of them. So I don't know what difference it really would make. So here's Trump saying, yeah, they weaponized the government. It's been weaponized their entire life against us. This is not a new revelation.
The way they were treated, the Biden administration and the Obama administration weaponized government and destroyed lives.
The government's been weaponized against you your entire life, whether you know it or not. That's why we do this show, so you would maybe come to understand that fact. Here's Trump on, oh yeah, again, he said it, I don't know how many times. He should just put that on a shirt. If it wasn't for me, there'd be no aardvark land. Here he is again in an interview earlier today. If it wasn't for me, there'd be no aardvark land. Well, that's why we elected you president of America, to make sure we have an aardvark land. It's just, man.
They're going to be in play. They are in play. They would have used, if it weren't for me, Israel would not exist today.
We know, and that's why you're all-time low in your approval rating there, Trump. Trust me, we know. More from the cabinet meeting here. Who's talking to Iran? The reporter asks. I don't know. Iran keeps saying nobody. We're not talking to you, America. But somehow every day Trump says, oh, yeah, they want a deal so bad. They keep calling. Like, who are you talking to? Well, here's Trump's answer. He says, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, J.D. Vance, and little Marco Rubio are talking to him. Really? Iran says they're not. Are they talking to Trump on the shoe phone? The can with the string? It's all pretty ridiculous when it's such a serious situation. We're in a war.
Who from the administration?
Well, they always want to talk, but they break their word so often. Steve is talking. Jared, we have very good people. JD's involved, very strongly involved. We have great people talking. Marco's involved.
How are they great? Their diplomacy has failed and brought us into war. Unless that was their job the entire time. They can't be great because they failed at diplomacy or shooting at each other. So I guess they are great because their job was to start this war. They did great at that. But as far as being diplomats and trying to broker a peace where we're not shooting at each other, how you keep your job unless that was your job? Here's more from that. Shadow Ezra posted this. He says, President Trump tells the media and the public that Marco Rubio is only going after the International Criminal Court to defend Milei, Shadow President Bibi, otherwise known as. He's trying to defend me. He's trying to defend Bibi. Pay attention to Trump's body language between 25 seconds and 28 seconds here in this minute clip.
The International Criminal Court is an illegitimate international organization that, frankly, illegitimate. They make themselves illegitimate because they claim that even if you're not a member of that court, they can come after you. And what that literally means in the future is that American servicemen, political leaders, and others could find themselves under indictment by this International Criminal Court. If you want to know a little bit about it, Jack Smith used to work there. These are the people that think they can go on and basically indict any world leader and haul them into The Hague. So we tried to get them to reform and listen to us. They wouldn't do it. They're very arrogant. We've now begun an effort to really try to bring that court to heel.
By the way, there's no information that they're after me. It could happen. But just so you know, just keep talking about it and saying that means that maybe he's not trying to defend me. He is trying to defend Bibi and various other people. But there are many people that shouldn't be looked at that way. But there is no.
It's so funny that Trump's a war criminal, and he knows it. They all know they're war criminals. Trump offered no clear path back to the MOU with Iran, saying we just want to win earlier today at this cabinet meeting, while signaling the renewed war could continue. His remarks on the war on Iran cabinet meeting this morning. Let me read through some quotes here for you. We're trying to be as nice as you can be in a situation like that. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. Asked whether Americans should expect the exchange of strikes to continue, Trump replied, a little bit. It would be foolish to say no. You always have to keep your guard up. Trump claimed Iran is always interested in talks, but repeatedly breaks its word. We covered that a little bit right there. Asked whether a deal remained possible, he said, I'm losing faith in them, accusing Tehran of firing missiles at U.S. troops in Jordan while negotiations were underway. Asked how many more U.S. strikes would be required to restore maritime security in the Strait of Hormuz. Trump answered, you never know. Most people would have given up by now. They haven't. So I give them credit for that. They're tough. Speaking about Iran. Pentagon may scale down military presence in Kuwait following retaliatory strikes from Iran. The United States is actively rethinking its strategic bilateral ties and military posture in Kuwait in the wake of the recent retaliatory strikes from Iran, according to senior U.S. officials cited in a Wall Street Journal article. You think we've been calling for weeks now? Get our troops out of harm's way. We obviously can't defend our bases. They're getting whacked over there big time. Sitting ducks. They're cannon fodder, essentially. Since the Gulf nations' independence decades ago, the United States has taken advantage of the oil-rich Emirati, turning it into one of the largest logistics hubs for the United States Army globally and housing thousands of troops alongside heavy artillery and Abrams tanks. While intelligence assessments report that Kuwait weathered recent Iranian military strikes, the broader hostilities have exposed several vulnerabilities, undermined long-standing security agreements, and forced a critical reassessment in the wake of unprecedented missile and drone attacks targeting regional bases. In response to sustained Iranian assaults on military infrastructure, Pentagon leadership is actively moving to downsize its footprint, reduce personnel, and withdraw assets within Kuwait. U.S. defense officials told the Wall Street Journal that this strategic shift is designed to minimize exposure and mitigate operational risks, even as Kuwait authorities continue to seek firm security commitments from the Pentagon. Yeah, they're picking us off over there at our bases here now. That's an image out of Kuwait. We need to get our troops the heck out of there. Iranian armed forces have expressed gratitude to the Jordanian public once again for sharing valuable intelligence regarding activities inside U.S. military installations within Jordan. According to Iran International, they noted that this collaboration has effectively increased pressure on the United States and narrowed their operational space. Yeah, we got unfriendlies there giving intel to Iranians. It's time to pack it up. Iran says it targeted U.S. bases in Bahrain and Kuwait with drones. Iran's army announced 2 new phases of its Operation Segehi, saying it carried out drone strikes against U.S. military installations in Bahrain and Kuwait in retaliation for recent U.S. attacks. According to the Army's Public Relations Office, the 26th phase of the operation, which was announced last night, Thursday evening, targeted the Sheikh Issa Air Base in Bahrain. Iranian forces said loitering munitions struck the base's power generators, navigation systems, and administrative and support buildings as retaliation for the killing of Lieutenant Colonel Majid Kazemi, a Sukhoi 24 pilot. Tehran said the base has suffered significant damage from repeated Iranian attacks despite U.S. air defenses. In a separate statement released this morning, the Army said the 27th phase targeted the Ahmed al-Jaber Air Base in Kuwait. Iran said drones struck fighter aircraft shelters, satellite communication systems, and equipment storage facilities as a response to recent U.S. strikes on Iran, including the attack on a residential home on Qasim Island. We covered that yesterday. The Iranian military asserted that its sustained drone and missile operations have made intercepting Iranian attacks increasingly difficult and costly for U.S. forces, while accusing Washington of suppressing information about damage and casualties it has imposed on American forces in the region. And then latest, right before we came on the air here, probably an hour before, I don't know exactly when they published it, earlier today, we'll just say ZBS News says U.S. aardvark land planning joint bombing campaign against Iran's energy infrastructure, one of the world's harshest bombing campaigns, attacks expected throughout the weekend. So you got you insiders out there, you got all you MAGAs, you got your bets in. You got your bets in. Trump's the best president ever, bro. You got the inside information about how all this is going to work out in the markets and you're going to make $1 billion. Oh, you didn't get that memo? Well, Trump and all his insiders are gaming the market and they're going to profiteer handsomely off of this. MAGA fools. Damn, pisses me off. Anyway, keep on posting. He's the greatest president ever. Continuing here. Iran returns to combat operations. Oh, no, excuse me. Aardvark land returns to combat operations. No final Trump decision yet. And then Wall Street Journal. U.S. set to unleash new rounds of strikes on Iran. Lasting days. So isn't that... It's just what the... There's that. Trump orders fresh attacks on Iran. So it could be kicking off any time here now, once again. Iran threatens strikes on U.S. aardvark land critical infrastructure, according to Sim News. It's getting harder to get our news from Sim News as they've been banned off the X. I don't know if they got their account back, but it was reported yesterday. Both their Persian language and English language accounts on the X were banned. I don't even know if they got them back. Anyhow, so they're threatening now comprehensive plan ready. Military has both capability and will to strike. So it's gonna kick off here. Both sides, all sides are saying so. So I would expect a massive war here now over the weekend, going forward, quite horrifically enough. But don't you worry, the Department of War is pumping High T War Department meme of the day here now. They say fielding cutting edge tech to empower high T warriors. Here's meme of the day. It was the thumbnail for today's show. High T War Department. All that's well and good. The High T War Department won't go arrest actual criminals or do anything about the criminal government, but they'll kill civilians all over the world. So we do appreciate those efforts. And they're targeting our own troops for mass sterilization through this program. Multiple doctors and medical authorities state that exogenous testosterone via replacement therapy, TRT, anabolic steroids, and high-dose supplements can suppress natural sperm production and cause or contribute to male infertility. This occurs because it creates negative feedback on the hypothalamic pituitary gland, gondolar HPG axis, lowering LH, FSH, and intertesticular testosterone needed for spermatogenesis. Effects are often reversible after stopping, sometimes taking months, but not always fully reversible or quickly, especially with prolonged use. That's the Mayo Clinic. You don't get much more mainstream than that. And the Cleveland Clinic says the same thing. I got a bunch of reports, all these different doctors. Do we even need to document it all? Maybe for the skeptics out there, I don't know. I'll post a link for those skeptical that love the Department of War and their new push to get everybody hyped up on testosterone. It's extremely dangerous, and be aware out there. It could and may very well lead to your sterilization. Continuing here. More memes from the Department of War. The Department of War wants to launch drones from drones now. The official project name is Suitable Warfighting Adaptive Payload SWAP USV. Around here, we just call it Sprint 1. Drones on a boat. Drones launching drones, they say. The ocean is their battlefield, unmanned, mission ready. Drones on a boat, unmatched, unstoppable. Drones on a boat. Well, it's a nice dream. We're not quite there yet. Suitable warfighting adaptive payloads here now. The Department of War Procurement Office is putting out this call right here. Project description: the cost exchange ratio for detecting and neutralizing asymmetric maritime threats in contested environments is heavily skewed in favor of the adversary. Bad actors deploy these low-cost drones. Currently, the Department of War relies on exquisite multi-million-dollar naval and aviation assets to intercept these inexpensive targets. Yeah. Solution, they're trying to get some, they're putting out this competition, 12-month prize competition with rolling submission windows. The solution to us spending millions and the enemy spending tens of thousands on destroying all these different weapons, as we've covered here now. The solution, according to the Department of War, the government and the Department of War Initiative Unit, DIU, seek to partner with established maritime manufacturers, autonomy developers, sensor manufacturers, and UAS developers to execute a multi-phase prize challenge under 10 USC 4025 with up to $100 million in available funding. And so they're putting out this call because they're figuring out we can't keep up this pace of $1 million missiles taking down $30,000 drones and all the different ways in between there are high-priced equipment taking on their low-cost drones is just simply not sustainable. So they're putting out that call. And we see, hey, big funding. Have fun trying to, afford groceries, but what the hell? The Department of War here now. The Department of War, Office of Strategic Capital, and again, I just learned of this like a couple of weeks ago, looking at what they're saying following the Department of War. We have an Office of Strategic Capital there now. I do believe established under the Biden administration, under old, the hell's his name? Darth Vader, the former Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin. Anyway, there is an Office of Strategic Capital at the Department of War. It announced a $820 million conditional loan commitment with Performance Drone Works to expand domestic manufacturing for critical drone components. This financing will establish a new high volume source of domestically manufactured components for drone Group 1 and Group 2 unmanned aircraft, strengthening the U.S. drone industrial base and addressing critical supply chain bottlenecks, achieving American drone dominance. Allegedly, you should be able to, with that much money, $820 million conditional loan commitment there. All right, where are we at? We're doing good. We're moving right along here. Moving right along onto Epstein news now. Let's hear a little bit from CNN. Who's this? Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy?
Todd Blanche, what do you make of this standoff over Blanche?
Well, I think that these Republican senators are right to hold out. Todd Blanche is the chief architect of the cover-up with regard to the Epstein affair in the White House. He's the one that has directed that millions of pages of documents not be produced, contrary to what the Epstein Files Transparency Act requires. He's also not pursued any investigations. He said that he thinks that this is not a 2026 issue. And so they are right to make sure that he doesn't become Attorney General. He is the president's lawyer. He's not the lawyer for the people of the United States right now.
He's breaking the law, and they want him to be the top. They want him to be the Attorney General. They should actually turn around and put the cuffs on his ass. There's more about it from Oversight Dems.
But for a multitude of reasons, Todd Blanche's nomination as Attorney General appears to be at a logjam on Capitol Hill, not the least of which is what we showed just a moment ago, the survivors of Epstein that came to Capitol Hill urging lawmakers to strike down his nomination. I just wonder if you think his handling of the Epstein files may impact his confirmation process.
I mean, absolutely. We're seeing that in real time. And, first, it's a testament to the strength of the survivors who, despite being wronged and disrespected every step of the way, continue to fight, as was just reported, literally going door to door with files, talking to senators, trying to get them to reject Todd Blanche's, bid for Attorney General. But absolutely, I mean, to say that the Department of Justice failed and their release of the Epstein files would be an understatement. I mean, this almost appeared as a deliberate obstruction of justice, a deliberate obstruction of transparency, and a deliberate obstruction of justice, despite the fact that justice is in the very name, the Department of Justice. So Todd Blanche has handled this poorly. Pam Bondi handled.
It's laughable. Where is the law and order here in America when the top cops are the ones breaking the law? Well, there is none, obviously. Even Senate Republicans know Todd Blanche is cooked. I think we showed this meme yesterday. But the Cornyn and Tillis are not doing it for the victims or because they care about justice. They're doing it, blocking his confirmation there in the Senate because they're feuding with Trump because he didn't endorse them, essentially here now, and they lost their re-election campaigns, and so they have the TDS as it's known, and so they have a bone to pick with Trump about that, and that's the real reason why they're blocking Todd Blanche confirmation. Don't be fooled into thinking they're some great heroes for justice. They're not. Okay, Melania Trump threatens to sue former friend over Epstein claims, but a lawsuit could backfire. The ongoing dispute between Melania Trump and her former friend, Brazilian model Amanda Ungaro, has escalated into formal legal threats. Ungaro recently challenged the official narrative of how the first lady met Donald Trump, alleging that the established story was fabricated to distance the couple from Epstein, as Harry Garadia reported for Quirky following an interview on the news channel Narrative with Zev Shelv. Trump issued a demand for a retraction, threatening a defamation lawsuit if the claims were not withdrawn. The core conflict centers around Pablo Zempoli, Ugrao's ex-husband, who has long been credited with introducing the Trumps in 1998. Ugrao claims the origin story was deliberately constructed to deflect questions about the couple's social orbit. While the threat of a defamation suit is clearly intended to silence these allegations, legal advocates note that the warning letter relies on vague language rather than establishing exactly why the claims meet the legal standard for defamation. So, yeah, it's looking like they create a lot of these fake origin stories out there. Like Trump he found out the wrongdoings of Epstein and then turned him in. BS, he knew all about it. He's part of it, man. And, Zempoli introduced Melania to Trump. She was one of the girls in this whole trafficking network, modeling, fashion, trafficking. She was one of the girls in the network. Introduced by Zempoli to Trump, 1998, a Kit Kat club dinner there in New York. We've covered it in great depth here now. Fox News host abruptly ends the interview as congressional candidate calls out Donald Trump. This guy called him a PDF on the Fox News, and they had to end that interview. Oliver Larkin spoke of the Epstein files and was quickly taken off air during an appearance on Fox News's The Story. Larkin faced questions about crimes involving undocumented immigrants, but then he decided to bring up Larkin shifted the discussion to Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. He said, we need to hold these PDFs Trump accountable, he said. And then he was subsequently cut off the air there. as per usual. Here's the cabinet meeting. Trump saying the most transparent administration in history.
Thank you very much. This is something very unique. It's Camp David, and this room is a very, very special room. I don't believe the press has ever come anywhere near it. We are the party of transparency, and we believe in transparency. I think it's good for you to see certain aspects of Camp David. It's a very special place. But it was not, I guess the last visit was with Eisenhower, where they allowed you onto the actual campus. And it's a long time ago, but never into this room.
Release Epstein files in the most transparent administration in history. Obviously, they won't. They started a giant war over it.
The absolutely disgusting story of Lil Donnie targeting the families of journalists. It's no secret Donnie hates the press. His contempt for them is on display daily. Donnie was deeply hurt when he couldn't fly on his fancy Qatari bribe plane from Turkey. And when a journalist asked him questions about it, he lost his fucking mind and sicked the DOJ on 4 New York Times reporters. That's relatively normal. What isn't normal is that he directed the DOJ to go after their families. To be clear, subpoenaing the families of reporters is without precedent. It's an insane scare tactic that the DOJ's own manual says not to fucking do. The DOJ, when called on this by a federal judge, claimed it was just an accident, which means they accidentally searched for and singled out 4 different families. Accidentally. 4 times. As soon as they left court, they blamed the judge for their own overreach, saying that they felt threatened by the judge's demeanor, who they then seemed to say was at fault for them going after family members. Because in Trump's DOJ, it's always someone else's fault. And all of this is because Donnie got sad someone asked him a question about his fancy bribe plane.
Yeah, it's every DOJ, but now Trump's president. And then here you go. Epstein meme of the day. The war's finished when I say it's finished. There you go. All right, where are we at on time? We still got time here. The New York Times, the failing New York Times. Larry Ellison bet it all on the AI boom. Will he become the face of the AI bubble? Here now. And some massive decrease there in Oracle stock price over the last couple weeks here now. I just want the facts, man. And they have to tell you, oh, the color of the curtains when they went and talked to him. And it's just like, give me the facts here, man. I did see a report talking about Ellison, his son, David Ellison, right? He's trying to do this big Paramount merger deal, media merger deal, Warner Brothers Discovery, Paramount merger. I saw a report that Newsom is telling the attorney general here in California to back off. So we'll see how that sorts out. Further media consolidation by the Z's. And of course, we need that to keep our minds pure, right? Yeah, I should have prepared that a little bit better. A big old report there, but yeah, it's a lot to go through. Continuing, look for Oracle to be leading losses when the AI bubble finally burst, as is evidenced through massive decrease in their stock price over the last couple of weeks here now. This is a crazy story right here about eBay. A couple that was stalked and harassed by eBay for years. Remember eBay? Still out there, right? eBay for years has settled with the company and 3 former executives, including the former CEO, for $56 million. David and Anna Steiner were harassed by eBay security personnel because eBay executives were furious about Ms. Steiner's reporting on the company. The failing New York Times reports that the Steiners were bombarded with anonymous material, including deliveries of live cockroaches and a bloody pig mask. They were threatened online. Much of the material they were sent, including a funeral wreath and a book on surviving the loss of a spouse, suggested imminent death. The security team was on the verge of breaking into the Steiners' garage to put a tracker on their car when the plot was derailed. The goal of this harassment campaign was to stop bad things from being written about eBay online. Wow. Ruthless executives there at eBay. Every poll and survey says that if you put a data center in my neighborhood, we will not, in fact, be happy about it. Here's this lying criminal from the Trump administration, Hassett. Oh, he's on the war channel, Fox News. Oh, he's on Fox Business with a shit-eating grin, saying how wonderful the technocracy is. Everybody loves data centers. Nobody loves them.
Because it's local officials, local selectmen and mayors and so on that are negotiating these deals. And they've been negotiating the deals, pretty generously in the sense that they've been happening all over the place because the data centers are very good for towns because they create so many jobs, bring people in with high incomes that could buy houses and stuff like that. And so if you take a sleepy town that hasn't really seen much in the last 20, 30 years and put a data center there, then they're going to be a whole bunch of happy residents in that town.
Yeah.
They're just so full of shit. I mean, it's like, wow, who could listen to this nonsense and take these clowns seriously? It's embarrassing, honestly. In one California town, Flock misread license plates 71% of the time. Out of a sample of 1,427 alerts that Flock sent to police in the town of Roseville. I've been there, Roseville, California. It's a little suburb just north of Sacramento, California. Anyhow, Roseville alerts that flagged vehicles are stolen or used in a felony after they pass one of the city's Flock cameras. 71% of the time were inaccurate. One man's car was misidentified by Flock 6 times. Imagine that. 71% of the time inaccurate. Why is the SWAT team here? Well, because they said that you committed a felony in your truck. Bro, I was at work all day. How the hell is that even possible? Well, you don't even have time to say any of that. The SWAT team kicks in your door and probably shoots you and your dog. You know what I mean? It's just beyond the pale of ridiculousness. 71% of the time inaccurately. How many people is this setting up? Flock's got to go. And the next one, Axon, got to go. Got to go. All right. 3 people were arrested at a public meeting on the massive Jupiter data center in New Mexico. One arrestee was pushed on the floor at the meeting by another person, and she's facing charges for resisting or obstructing and disorderly conduct. The others were also facing charges of disorderly conduct or obstructing and were booked without bond. Oracle's project Jupiter data center would be 1,400 acres, bigger than Central Park. Let's watch this report out of local New Mexico Channel 7 News. Oracle better do something. They're going under, man. Maybe grind some more of these protesters into the dirt. I don't know what can help them.
Tensions flaring this morning over a Project Jupiter data center along the border. 3 people arrested during that meeting for disorderly conduct. Oracle AI reps were there to present to county commissioners, but public comment started when the arrests were made, and they're now being held without bond. Strong reactions coming from both sides. Nearly everyone who stepped up to that podium were met with boos or cheers. 30 people were scheduled to speak, but commissioners having to start and stop a lot because of disruptions from the crowd. Many supporters focusing on job opportunities, while those against citing lack of communication from Oracle along with environmental impacts.
Everybody keeps talking about jobs, but we don't talk about the jobs that may be displaced by the amount of water and whatnot used by Project Jupiter in terms of farmland, in terms of the crops that are grown, and how much agriculture we may lose because of this project.
Today's facilities can be designed around highly efficient cooling systems, advanced energy management, improved power usage effectiveness, water-saving technologies, and renewable energy.
There were also confrontations with security guards in the Doña Ana County Sheriff's Office. Finally, Project Jupiter getting to present their new data. They're expecting 700 new jobs and generating tax revenues of around $600 million over a 17-year span. Oracle AI also claiming they will use as much water as 9 U.S. households over 15 years. This is how construction for the center is looking today. Representatives saying they are committed to being a good neighbor and they are going to share everything that they are doing. We have been following this since its inception. You can find our Target 7 investigation on how Oracle AI is accused of fraudulently using the names of state politicians to support that project. That is right now on our website.
You don't say CIA, Oracle are liars. You don't say. Shocking, I know. This one's kind of crazy. This guy they're saying he lost $45 billion. How Leopold Aschenberners built a $45 billion AI hedge fund and lost most of it in days. CNBC can see right there. Former OpenAI researcher, AI hedge fund sensational awareness collapsed from $45 billion to around $10 billion in assets on falling semiconductor stocks and mounting margin calls, driven by reported leverage of up to 400%. The 20-something's manager was forced to sell off his leveraged public stock bets, including hard-hit names like SK Hynix and CoreWeave, to Ken Griffin's Citadel at a discount. The crash marks a dramatic turn for the hedge fund, who launched the fund after gaining Silicon Valley fame with his 2024 AI manifesto, drawing scrutiny from critics over his lack of money management experience and his past ties to FTX. Just everywhere you look, these guys are just such freaking fraud, liar, criminals, man. Fox News is reporting now the U.S. national debt has reportedly surpassed $40 trillion for the first time ever. 40 trillion with a T. So we're never paying back the national debt, obviously. We're in the Great Reset, so we're in a controlled demolition of the U.S. economy, essentially, here now. U.S. national debt surpasses $40 trillion for the first time. The U.S. national debt has indeed breached $40 trillion for the first time in history, according to U.S. Treasury Department data, marking a historic escalation in the nation's fiscal situation. It's not sustainable. Right now, we've been reporting all this week, they got to raise the payout, the interest rate on long-term bonds to try to entice somebody to invest here in U.S. debt, which is becoming more and more untenable by the day. Now, isn't it? Yeah, it's clearly unsustainable. Everybody, there's all kind of people, like they list right here, all these economists, bankers, they're all saying it's unsustainable. It's unsustainable, obviously, to keep spending at this pace. Trump, Department of War, give us 1.5 trillion. Got to kill some more terrorists. It's like, bro, you guys created, you're engineering the collapse here. I don't know how you get out. It was Biden, right? Or they'll blame the next guy. How long can they kick this can down the road? It feels like, well, yeah, the bankers are going to pull the plug at the time of their choosing. Of course, the insiders will all become even that much more richer. So be aware, $40 trillion national debt here, major threshold has been surpassed. All right, we're at the top of the hour. Let's take a live commercial break here now. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. We got a bunch more economic news on the other side of this commercial break. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. We blasted through quite a bit of news there in the first hour. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. Go to weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself a holograph sticker over there. White background sticker, a clear sticker. Get yourself some gear. weaponizednews.com/shop. The link's right there in the description below this video. We got coffee mugs, t-shirts, baseball caps, shot glasses. Again, as some in the audience say, this show induces heavy bouts of drinking. We try to accommodate that with Weaponized News shot glasses. Any which way you choose to support us is much appreciated. We take donations as well. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App links all in the description below this video. Become a paid subscriber at Weaponized News Substack. Everything's free. Become an unpaid subscriber, but help support independent reporting and analysis brought to you 5 days a week, broadcasting live Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern time. Become a paid subscriber, Weaponized News Substack. All the links to everything right in the description below this video. Any which way you choose to support us is much appreciated. Give us the free like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. Help us continue to grow here now as we're fighting through this mass of propaganda and bringing you nonpartisan, independent reporting 5 days a week. And I was going back through some old files earlier today and found a bunch of bat time reporting that we did. So all of that is available on Weaponized News Substack. You can go back and relive the glory days of the bat times there. We got it right, sadly enough, to report to you. Here at Weaponized News, we got it right. Many others out there did not get it right about the bats, you see. All right, welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Friday edition, July 31st, 2026. Let's get right back into the economy here now. Fortune magazine says nearly a third of workers admit to sabotaging their company's AI. Surprise is not higher than that, actually. The U.S. Treasury has informed a number of banks that it may intervene in the Japanese yen market today and that they should stand ready for future action, according to a report out of Reuters, because we do the free market capitalism thing here. Too big to fail, too big to jail. And so that's how they roll with rigged markets. Elon Musk has said that in 2036, money won't matter. He said artificial intelligence and humanoid robots will create a post-scarcity society, producing more goods and services than humanity can consume and making traditional currency obsolete. What he neglected to mention is once they get you on the mark of the beast universal basic income system, you're a slave to the system, and so you have to do whatever they say or you're cut off, whether it's taking miracles, taking bat bites, whatever the hell they want to come up with. By that time, taking the brain chip, whatever it is, whatever crazy thing they want you to do. If you don't comply, you're cut off, you can't eat, and they'll probably send those humanoid robots to go about your orderly termination in the near future. Something to look forward to. The scientific dictatorship technocracy, the Greater North America Project. Baby boomers are sitting on at least $93 trillion in assets, according to Visa. That's more than the total held by Gen X and millennials combined. And they're trying to, they try to divide us on every front, right? Race, religion, creed, politics, age. Now there's I don't know if you guys have noticed, you probably have if you're online like me, there's a narrative meme out there trying to blame whoever's financial poverty essentially on baby boomers. That is out there to divide us up by age as well. So be aware of these narratives. I'm sure you are out there in the audience. 1 in 3 American men are now outside the workforce, with male labor participation falling to nearly 20-year low, according to a report out of the Washington Compost. Yeah, they pumped the job numbers. Hey, bro, it's like over 100 million. I forget even whatever. The most ever are not even participating in the labor market, not even counted when you get your fake unemployment numbers. Keep all that in mind. Trump on Iran, he says prices are way down with the exception of oil. Well, we'll play the clip. Prices are not way down on Main Street. Trump's in his bubble of freaking whatever PDFs, right? He doesn't go grocery shopping. Give me a break. He doesn't know what it's like for you and I, Joe Blow, on the street.
Prices are way down with the exception of the oil, and that'll go down, as you saw when they thought we had a deal 2 weeks ago.
Prices are not down, and we live, whether you like it or not, in Rockefeller oil oligarch economy. Everything is based on petroleum here now. And so the price of oil goes up, everything goes up because you have to transport the goods and all these different inputs, and on it goes. So he treats everybody like they're idiots, lies to everybody's face. All you got to do is go freaking grocery shopping and you could see it. It's just ridiculous, the level of lying and gaslighting coming out of Trump. While working people struggle to pay $4 plus for a gallon of gasoline, this week, Rockefeller oil oligarchs reported record profits from last quarter. Shell reported $9.8 billion profit, a 130% increase over the same 4 quarters, over the same quarter last year, and its best quarterly profit in 4 years. Chevron reported $12 billion in profit, a nearly 400% increase over last year, and its highest since 2020. ExxonMobil reported $14.5 billion in profit, more than double the same quarter last year. Total Energies reported $6 billion in profit, a 68% increase over the same quarter last year, the most in 3 years. They're price gouging the hell out of us, man. But don't you worry. Trump said his DOJ is going to look into this price fixing in the gasoline market. Sure you are. Sure you are, with your corrupt Department of Justice there. I'm not holding my breath. Oh, what is it? Over $100 million, whatever it is, at least $100 million, more than that, dollar F-35 fighter jet has crashed and gone and went up in flames in Southern California in a Marine Corps Air Station, Myanmar, in San Diego earlier this morning. There's a video of that. And it's just $100 million aircraft. Who cares, right?
I hope the homie's good.
Yeah, dude.
I hope the homie's good. Officials are investigating the cause of the crash, and no additional details have been released. That was a report out of Fox 5. The U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve is at its lowest level since 1983, with its 18th week of drawdown, according to Reuters. Wasn't it yesterday? I don't know. It was like the lowest. We just keep going down like this, right? And our strategic petroleum reserves, I believe, is like the lowest since 86, 85, 84, 83. We're drawing it all down to zero here now. Looks like. According to AAA, the national average for the price of a gallon of gasoline is now at $4.11. $4.11. Right there. And then the Iran War Energy Cost Tracker out of Brown University, Watson School of International and Public Affairs. We're now up to, we're now up to $76.9 billion total consumer cost burden since the beginning of the Iran war on February 28, 2026. You can see right here. And then the per household cost burden spread across both gasoline and diesel is now up to $587 on average. We are getting some fact checks again from U.S. Central Command. Let me check quickly. Have they announced a full-on bombing campaign in the last hour since we've been on air here? Let's see what's the latest from U.S. Central Command. Nothing yet. No announcements yet. But they did put out a fact check earlier today, and we appreciate the fact checks of U.S. Central Command debunking Iranian claims. Damn terrorists. The claim, once again, the Iranian government claims it has closed the Strait of Hormuz. This is false. The Strait of Hormuz remains open for commercial vessel transit. Iran does not control it. Thousands of ships have sailed through the international waterway over the past 4 months. So how you like that, Iran? You damn terrorist. Let's take a look at it again. I should have this one pulled up, the map there. So we're going to take a look at these choke points. Come on, load up, sucker. Maybe we won't. Let's see. Let's try it one more time. Took me to some well, that's not good. We'll move on. We'll take a look at the map I do have up. All right. U.S. imposes new sanctions targeting networks supporting Iran's Mahan Air. The U.S. announced yesterday it would impose a new round of sanctions targeting international networks that support Mahan Air, the Iranian airline Washington accused of transporting personnel from the IRGC along with weapons and drones. In a statement, the U.S. Treasury Department announced sanctions on 6 entities and individuals based in China, India, Russia, and Iran, including several companies that serve as sales agents for the airline, which is already under U.S. and EU sanctions. The Treasury also sanctioned a front company linked to the IRGC, alleging it supported Iranians' kinetic targeting during the war. According to the Treasury Department, yesterday's action further disrupts the network underpinning Iran's destabilizing activities in the region. Not us destabilizing, it's Iran, you see. IRGC targets and disables 2 oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. The IRGC has issued a public warning following an incident in the Strait of Hormuz where 2 oil tankers were targeted and disabled after being influenced by misinformation from U.S. Central Command. What are these mariners to do? America says, yeah, it's fine, go on through. Iran shoots you in the face. That's why I wanted to pull up, let's see here. See if we can pull up that map a little bit quicker. Let's see. So they're like, yeah, come on by, drive right by. Everything's fine. And then Iran shoots you in the face and blows your ship up. Really? That's what's going on here. You go back here. Let's see if we can get this thing to work. It pulled up. I tried to search the map and it pulled up like a mobile thing. I want to pull up the mobile. I want to pull up the full map for you guys. And it's stuck on this for some reason. Anyway, I got a map here in a minute that I guess we'll have to use to illustrate the Strait of Hormuz situation. According to IRGC naval forces, which don't exist, according to Trump, the 2 tankers ignored warnings and moved on an unsafe, illegal course before being disabled, while 4 other tankers quickly changed course and returned to their original positions. The IRGC stated that following CENTCOM's false statement last night, it formally notified all shipping companies and insurance companies not to pay attention to CENTCOM statements and to inquire about those who had been deceived and have suffered incidences. Consequently, the military command was warned that any illegal interventions, orders, or prohibitions issued by the U.S. military against ships in the region will not go unanswered, while reiterating strict navigation warnings for the strait. A major oil spill is spreading off of Oman from a crippled Russian Shadow Fleet tanker, Caroline Bizingi, which is carrying an estimated 800,000 to 1 million barrels of crude oil, according to Reuters. The 274-meter Cameroon-flagged vessel began leaking after an on-board explosion left it without power. So there's oil spills going on over there as well right now. We do appreciate that. And remember, Iran said one of the big sticking points was they care about the environment. They're going to charge an environmental fee at one point through all of this fiasco they had proposed. There's the oil spilling there into the ocean. The first Qatari liquid natural gas shipment in 3 weeks has been blocked from sailing to Pakistan by U.S. Central Command. So, yeah, they how do you even drive through there? How do you even drive through there? Blocked by U.S. Central Command after the LNG tanker Al Arsha, which loaded its cargo at Ras Laffan, transited the Strait of Hormuz via Iranian designated northern shipping route, was turned back and forced to return to its original position by U.S. Central Command. Again, Iran's there with a gun in your face. America's there with a gun in your face. Have fun shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Right here. Right? America's right here with guns. Iran's all up in here with guns. And so they went all the way over here, and U.S. Central Command said, put the brakes on, bud. And so they sent them all the way back there, or we whack you. Kepler data shows sharp contrast between Bab al-Mandeb and Strait of Hormuz shipping flows. According to shipping data, 25 vessels passed through the Bab al-Mandeb Strait on Thursday. That's the one that the Houthis are now policing and threatening to attack ships, right? While traffic through the Strait of Hormuz remained significantly limited, with only 2 tankers recording transit. But what the hell? Central Command, Trump, all of them said it's just drive right through there. Everything's fine. Not according to the data. So they're lying, shockingly enough, to us here now about what is going on at the Strait of Hormuz. It's a giant freaking disaster. Again, engineered energy crisis, engineered famine is the result here. Okay, I was able to get the map up here. Just get it out here. Pull that up on the screen right here, right? So almost a standstill here. More traffic's going through here. Right? Going through here than here as of now. And still, you got the threat of the Houthis right there. Saudi Arabia and the Houthis are essentially at war. They're threatening anybody linked up with Saudi Arabia or America, for that matter. You try to drive through here, Houthis shoot you in the face. So, yeah, not good at all. All right, continuing. Persian Gulf Strait Authority says movement through Hormuz not possible due to U.S. operations. Here's that post. They say, in response to repeated inquiries, we would like to reiterate that due to continued aggressive actions of U.S. forces in the region, passage through the Strait of Hormuz is not feasible. Once stability is restored, all requests will be reviewed and permits issued progressively. So, yeah, it's basically closed, even though CENTCOM says it's open. Okay, on to the weaponization of migration. The Clarigi Plan is a far-right conspiracy theory that claims Austrian-Japanese political philosopher Richard von Kladuvenhove Clarigi devised a deliberate scheme to destroy the white populations of Europe through mass immigration and racial mixing, ultimately creating a passive mixed race populace ruled by an aardvark elite. That's per Wikipedia to walk the line of community standards there for you. Go take a look at it. Of course, it's a far right-wing conspiracy theory. Be warned. Okay. About 49,000 migrants entered Spanish enclave of Ceuta. I guess is how you pronounce it. I was looking because I wanted to get the pronunciation correct. I guess the C is F there in Spanish. Ceuta, from Macaron in the past 24 hours, according to the BBC. And guess who's celebrating? Your friend and mine, Aardvark Land. There you go. Aardvark Foreign Embassy. To the Kingdom of Morocco, its leadership and its people. We extend our warmest congratulations on the occasion of the glorious Throne Day. Interesting. They posted that yesterday, congratulating Morocco with their strange satanic flag there. Here's the director of policy at the Middle East Forum, a Zionist-funded think tank in D.C., calling on the U.S. and Aardvark land to impose sanctions on Spain if they tried to repel the invasion. The United States and Aardvark land must impose sanctions on Spain if it uses any American or Aardvark land defense or police equipment against innocent Moroccans in occupied Ceuta. And he got fact checked over here on this one. Let's see if I can get back to the fact check. Was it this one? It was this one. Anyhow, he was claiming that somehow Morocco has claim to that land, and he got fact checked, and they said, no, they have no claim there. So they just make up BS as per Aardvark usual. Trump commenting on this weaponization of migration. They're trying to use it as a fear-mongering tactic over here in America. It says, what's happening in Spain with tens of thousands of illegal immigrants invading it happened in the United States during Sleepy Joe Biden administration, and it will happen again, only worse if the Democrats ever again gain power. Don't let your country be destroyed. Vote Republican and be proud of the USA. Yeah, only problem with that is you and your Justice Department haven't gone after any of the perpetrators that allowed the invasion here in the United States in the first place. And so your words are hollow here now. And imagine a country, well, you vote for the other party and you're going to get invaded. Really? That's our country? Like, seriously? We're not getting mass deportations as Trump has promised. And just fear-mongering. Republicans are going to lose the midterms big time. This very unpopular, illegal foreign war of aggression against Iran continues. The economy is in the shit. And all this propaganda is just nonsense at this point. Again, go arrest Mayorkas. Go arrest Amy Pope at UN Immigration. Go arrest the heads of all these NGOs and nonprofits that facilitated the invasion and everybody along the whole supply chain. It's a big operation. Take a look at Amy Pope and UN Immigration. You could start right there. Clown feds, you know, right? If I know, you know, yeah, but they don't. They don't. And so, again, these words are hollow. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said, the state is here. We will defend the security and coexistence of Ceuta just as we would defend them in Madrid's M30, because geographically there may be a center and a periphery, but institutionally, politically, and in terms of development, there is no periphery and no center. We are all one. Talking about Spain. And then I did have the map pulled up here for you guys, so we can take a look. What is all of this? Here's where they're at, right? Right down there, and they came up here through Morocco and swam across right here on makeshift boats, rafts, swimming. I saw one guy with a bicycle. I don't know how you ride your bicycle in the ocean, but he did. And so they came across right here. And you can see when we scroll out, right there is Morocco, and there's Spain. And for those not following, what am I even talking about? Let's watch this. Here's a clip from Associated Press. Thousands of migrants have streamed into tiny Spanish territory of Ceuta in North Africa from Morocco. Well, it's not North Africa. It's Spain. It's Europe. Crazy. And there's a bunch of other images of it. I guess let's take a look at this one. Military age men jumping out of the back of this truck. These are like scenes out of World War Z. Some of them when they were coming up out of the ocean trying to climb over walls there. Aardvarkland National Security Minister Ben Gvir said, "My congratulations to the President of the Government of Spain, Pedro Sanchez, for his profound commitment to welcoming immigration and, quote, human diversity. As someone who demonstrates great concern for Hamas and the residents of Gaza, I call on you to translate words into action, open the doors of Spain, and grant refuge to the residents of Gaza who seek to immigrate. This is an excellent opportunity to contribute a little more to Spain's, quote, human diversity." And so they know they were behind this attack, and now they're mocking Spain, as Spain has been a loud voice against the genocide out of Europe. Zionism is the most conniving, insidious force on the planet, and it's not even close. Aardvarkland will destroy anyone and anything that gets in its way. Abraham Accords could reach the strait. How Aardvarkland can help Morocco reclaim its north. Out of Ynet. U.S.-Spain tensions over NATO. Iran create opening for Morocco to press claims on Fouta and Melilla, with Aardvarkland positioned to back Rabat diplomatically within U.S.-led alliance that increasingly favors cooperative partners over European holdouts. They're trying to claim that somehow they own that land. They don't. It's already been thoroughly debunked, that claim. Netanyahu's son here now. This is a flashback, but it speaks to the plan, the bigger plan. He says, let's make a deal. We won't fund NGOs in your country calling you to give away Fouta, and you stop funding NGOs in our country that calls on us to give away Judea and Samaria. And that was, you can see right there, May 26, 2019. Milei's son posted some more about it. Didn't he change his name? They're still calling him Netanyahu here. How many times you got to change your name to outrun international justice? I guess a lot. Yair Netanyahu have been calling for an invasion of Spain's cities by the Arabs and Muslims since 2019. We just showed you that post. Netanyahu's son wrote, "Dear Arabs and Muslims, want to free occupied Arab Islamic lands." Here's a good start. Earlier this year, Netanyahu stated that Spain had decided to stand up against Aardvark land and that he would make an example out of the country. "I do not intend to allow any country to wage a diplomatic war against us without paying an immediate price."
בחרה שוב ושוב להתייצב נגד ישראל. מי שתוקף את מדינת ישראל במקום את משטרי הטרור, מי שעושה זאת, לא יהיה שותף שלנו לגבי עתיד האזור. אני לא מוכן לסבול את הצביעות הזאת ואת העוינות הזאת. אני לא מתכוון לאפשר לאף מדינה לנהל נגדנו מלחמה מדינית בלי לשלם על כך מחיר מיידי. בחרה שוב...
Clear your throat out there, buddy. But yeah, you can see it's clear they engineered this attack on Spain there. Here's an AI. This is AI. Okay, but it's a good one. It's short. The attack on Spain. And we just had to kill that music because who even knows where it came from? I'm sure somebody has a copyright claim on it. And so that was a pretty good AI illustration about what's happening there. Sanchez condemns Ceuta border attack as 25,000 returned to Morocco. There's a bunch of reports that they are kicking him out there with the Spanish military. 48,300 of the 50,000 illegal aliens returned to Morocco after entering Ceuta, and at least 57 died in the crossing. Sanchez calls it a violation of Spain's territorial integrity. Out of El País. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, solidarity and empathy are optional. Respect for European treaties and data is not. Because they're saying, oh, you're big socialists and you let in all the illegals and they all get on welfare. And that's the narrative. You're trying to collapse Spain with the welfare state and immigration from within. He posted this, says, well, not so much as Italy has closed its borders. He posted this, solidarity and empathy are optional. Respect for European treaties and data is not. Number of irregular entries between 2021 and 2026, according to Frontex. You can see, 478,600 came in through Italy, the West Balkans, 340,000 plus, Greece, 256 or 59,000, and in Spain, right there, 234,760, and then via the eastern border, 48,000. This is not the time to divide. It is the time to continue building a strong and united EU. He's pointing out it's not only Spain that is having these mass invasions of illegal aliens, and he's speaking to the pushback from Italy, who has been highly critical of it. Take a look at your numbers there, Italy. France President Macron says, I asked Interior Minister to strengthen controls at our border with Spain if necessary. 4 units of mobile forces, aircraft, and drones have been deployed. So he's acting like he cares about France's borders there. He doesn't, but they have to put on that front at least. Okay, on to So yeah, I think we've learned, and there's more than enough evidence that they've weaponized migration, and they're using these poor African macaroons to go ahead and carry out that invasion and destabilize Spain as punishment for pushback against the genocide there in Gaza and other horrific acts by Aardvark land. I think it's pretty well laid out there for you. That is indeed the case. This is not just a random occurrence. It's all engineered, another form of warfare by Aardvark land. On to Russia-Ukraine war here now. It's ongoing. Wild berries, as we continue to report, that's the equivalent of Russia Amazon. Their logistics hubs, warehouses are being targeted and have been blown up by Ukrainian drone attacks. The CEO of Wild Berries, Tatiana Kim, came out and said, "We see the situation has united everyone, entrepreneurs, buyers, the business community, and representatives of regional authorities are uniting to solve the problem together. The problem is their warehouses of goods are being blown up by Ukrainian drones." She went on to say, "We will do everything to help business cope with this difficult situation. I thank everyone for the support. Together, we are stronger because Wild Berries is you. By striking us, terrorists hide the true reasons and accuse us of allegedly selling military goods. But you can open any marketplace, Amazon, Alibaba, and see if we have anything they don't. There is no logic, common sense, or rationality in the terrorist actions, and there cannot be." The enemy himself made a public statement that the attacks on Wild Berries are aimed at ordinary citizens. Their only goal is to apply pressure, destabilize, and cause panic and shock among a large number of people in Russia. That is the point. Here's Trump saying that we'll just go in there and take whatever we want from Ukraine. He says Ukraine has very rich, very fertile soil in terms of rare earth. If we have a contract signed having to do with rare earth, we can go in there at any time and take pretty much whatever we want. That's a pretty good deal. You know, it's even a better deal. The reconstruction contract that BlackRock has to rebuild Ukraine after they're done letting it get blown to bits by Russia, to go in there and rebuild it into a high-tech 15-minute style city, technocracy, police state control grid. That's what's really exciting about the future for Ukraine. Trump says it all the time now. Well, he lied and said, "Elect me, and I'll have the Ukraine-Russia war over in 24 hours with a phone call." That hasn't happened because Trump's full of shit. Nobody wants to make concessions, but both Putin and Zelensky are going to have to make concessions and make a deal, Trump said earlier today at that cabinet meeting. Russia's imported about 30,000 tons of gasoline to ease fuel shortages caused by Ukrainian drone attacks on major oil refineries. Russia has also turned to India, Belarus, and Kazakhstan for fuel, while domestic gasoline production has fallen sharply, according to a report out of Reuters. Yeah, we've been covering it. They're blowing the hell out of their Ukraine, NATO, America. We collectively are blowing the hell out of Russian petroleum production capacity by bombing the refineries. Ukraine, now the tit for tat, back and forth in the war, guys. Stop it. Just stop it. Ukraine hit a wave of Russian logistics and energy targets overnight. The Volgograd, a Wild Berries warehouse, caught fire. The massive Lukoil Volgograd, I can't even pronounce it, the big refinery there, was also struck. Further south, more drone attacks at Kaspika seaport near the Caspian Sea. And so it's ongoing there. We have some, I guess we'll show the video here. It's pretty striking of these drones hitting Russia. I guess we should all cheer it on. We hate the Russians, right? Yeah, take that, Joe Blow Russian. You know what I mean? Certain Joe Blow Russians. This is a sad one. Ukrainian soldier Danilo Voronov lost 9 family members in a Russian strike on their home. These are the wages of war. Stop it. There you go. Whacked all these people. You can see that right there in the black and white, right? Stop the war. The Greater North America Project, Trump earlier today in an interview with America's Voice, the interviewer asked him, I made a prediction that before you left office, Greenland would be under our operational control. Trump said, you'd be right if you took that. You should make that bet, actually. Yeah, because it's part of building out the Greater North America Project, our section of one world government here now. Trump's unofficial Venezuelan advisor, Marcelo Carone, has left his role after playing a major part in shaping U.S. policy and multi-million-dollar oil and debt deals. He said he left voluntarily, but sources told Reuters he was pushed out amid concerns over his influence and ties to Venezuelan business figures. Europe announces FIFA boycott over Kushner-backed scheme to privatize World Cup. UEFA says no European national team will take part in any FIFA tournament unless the privatization plan is abandoned in full. The Union of European Football Associations, UEFA, announced yesterday a unanimous decision to withdraw from all future FIFA competitions in response to the proposed sale of 20% ownership stake in the World Cup and other FIFA tournaments to private investors. They're constantly running schemes, scams, frauds. Turns out central to the proposal is a lead investment group, Thrive Eternal, backed by Joshua Kushner, brother of Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, who started the Iran war. Side note there. And trying to steal that island off the coast of Albania as well. So yeah, it just all always leads back to one of these criminals. So that's good. They're pushing back on that. UK charges over 1,500 people over signs opposing Aardvarkland's genocide of the Palestinians in Gaza. British authorities, big brother. Again, it's all fine, well, and dandy to hate Aardvarkland, but take a look, spy with your little eye Well, UK has been doing this entire time. They're where all this is coming from originally. British authorities listed the cases of 1,579 people at Westminster Magistrates Court yesterday holding cardboard signs opposing Aardvarkland's genocide of the Palestinians in Gaza, according to campaign group Defend Our Juries. The group said the hearing had been pushed back to October, but that hundreds of defendants were never told, leaving them unsure whether they were required to reappear, pointing to confusion as evidence of a crisis the courts cannot absorb. Aardvarkland spends over $1 billion on global influence campaign to whitewash war genocide. As we continue to report, a major part of propagandizing the American people is Brad Parscale, former campaign manager of Donald Trump, a complete traitor to this country. Sold us out. In this report now, the Aardvarkland government has spent over $1 billion on propaganda since October 7, 2023 in a bid to reverse the collapse of public support following its genocide of Palestinians in Gaza, according to a July 24th report by Responsible Statecraft. The amount represents a dramatic escalation in Aardvarkland's global Hasbro spending to shape public opinion, in particular in the United States, Tel Aviv's biggest backer. The effort was launched to counter the change in opinion of U.S. citizens who have turned against Aardvarkland due to the war crimes it has carried out in Gaza over the past 3 years. A Gallup poll from July 2025 found that 60% of U.S. citizens disapproved of Aardvarkland's military actions in Gaza, which have killed more than 73,000 Palestinians, the majority women and children, and turned the Gaza Strip into a devastated moonscape. To change this, Aardvarkland has funded various propaganda campaigns, such as hiring U.S. President Trump's former campaign manager, Brad Parscale, to carry out mass texting campaigns on behalf of Aardvarkland under the guise of peace groups and allies for peace. Aardvarkland has long influenced the opinion of U.S. public through pro-Aardvarkland lobbying groups funded and staffed by Aardvark U.S. citizens. AIPAC, the big one, right? There's other groups, Christians United for Aardvarkland, CUFI, foreign aid. They should all be registered as foreign agents. At least old Brad Parscale's outfit, Clock Tower. I think it's Clock Tower, Clockwork, whatever it is. They at least registered, so they should have tell you, hey, we're working for a foreign government here, trying to influence you, idiot Americans who love Aardvark genocide. Drink some more goy slop, essentially. Here now. And out of the Quincy Institute, they're going after that guy, the head of that, trying to kick him out. I know, oh my gosh, actually have a critical voice against war and genocide. You got to go. Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft, the Eighth Front, inside Aardvarkland's $1 billion influence campaign. And they go through the different groups here. We named a few. Big report there. I don't have time to go through the whole thing. I will link up to it at Weaponized News Substack. Here it is right here. You can see. Big report there out of the Quincy Institute. All right, Laura Loomer. Some say she's the monster from Saw. Here she is modeling a Ukrainian drone. Laura Loomer visits Ukraine's Skyfall drone factory, signed 2 P-1 Sun interceptor drones, including one dedicated to Iran. And so I don't know, that has to bring bad karma on you, signing these drones that go kill people, psychopaths, all of them. This creature. Saudi Arabia prepares for major land-sea operations against Houthis there in Yemen. Saudi Arabia is preparing for a massive and major military assault against Yemen, which could involve both land and sea operations aimed at breaking the Ansarallah-led Yemeni armed forces blockade on Saudi shipping, according to a report out of UK Guardian. Yemeni sources claim Saudi military troops have been withdrawing from the east of Yemen in what could be preparation for a land offensive. The troop movements inside Yemen involve concentrating forces for what could be an attack on al-Bayda, a governorate in central southern Yemen, captured by Ansarallah between 2020 and 2021. The report coincided with a Saudi defense military statement saying the kingdom was preparing to form a multinational naval coalition for the Red Sea. Again, they're blocking the Red Sea there, right? Let's pull that up again, and we'll take a look at that, what this is all about. They may do it, increase the war. They're already in war, but it may escalate to this ground invasion now and get that much more worse. So here it is, right? So Houthis are blocking their shipping coming through here. And so they're going to come, I don't know where they're going to come through, but you see Saudi Arabia all right there, right? So you can look forward to that in the near future. And Nasrallah chief warns Kingdom of Saudi Arabia against escalation in Yemen. Your allies cannot save you, he said. Leader of Yemen's Ansarallah al-Houthi said indicators show that Saudis are heading toward full-scale escalation. We will meet Saudi's full escalation with full escalation. The oppressor will learn that America won't save him. Britain won't save him. Aardvarks certainly won't save him. The Zionist enemy won't save him. No one will save him. This dude, right? The head of the al-Houthi right here. Looks like it's getting ready to kick off there. Like really hot. It's already kicked off. They've been trading bombing campaigns against each other. Let's watch this. The violence and impunity we are witnessing isn't a policy failure, but Western colonialism operating exactly as designed. Here's the cradle with Dr. Gasson. Let's watch this short clip.
Western ruling classes are cannibals. Their parents were cannibals, their grandparents were cannibals, and their great-grandparents were cannibals. The job of liberals is to oppose policies in so much as never to change them or to challenge them. And we saw this in the last few days with Karim Khan. Ken Roth, the ex-head and the longest-serving head of Human Rights Watch, was central to having Karim Khan expelled extrajudicially, literally extrajudicially, because that's his job. And it's always been his job. And it's always been Human Rights Watch's job, is to make sure there is criticism, but never criticism that could ever alter the outcome. And that stays within the margins of misguided policies or hijacked policies. And so never say that actually these are structurally a happening genocide, that this genocide is as much part of Western colonialism as it has ever been, and that Western ruling classes are cannibals. Their parents were cannibals, their grandparents were cannibals, and their great-grandparents were cannibals. And that so what we watched in Gaza is something that is not an aberration or the failure of the Biden administration to rein back Netanyahu, but actually a fundamentally structural process to Western colonialism that was born out, or European political identity was born out of slavery, fed on colonialism, and raised on imperialism. And so it is so formative, these genocidal experience to Western political identity. But that's not the job of these liberal discourse organizations. Their job is to tell you these are misguided policies. It's all Trump's fault. The Israeli government has been hijacked by the right wing, rather than these are structural issues linked to global capital, linked to the historical development of these people, these classes, these institutions. And they've been doing this for as long as they existed and will continue to do this unless they're defeated.
I could sum it up even better. Never trust sneaky aardvarks. The controlled demolition campaign of Lebanon continues. Here's aardvark land reconnaissance drone activity reported earlier today over Lebanon. All up in Lebanon. You can see it right there. Aardvark land occupation forces conduct controlled demolitions between Taibeth and Deir Mim-As, southern Lebanon. Some of those images. Scorched earth policy, ecocide. They're leveling the joint. Going after all these historical sites, they don't care. They don't care. Aardvark land occupation forces set fire to residential homes, property, agricultural land in Mays al Jabla. The border village of Babib is a historical cultural site that is home to the shrine of the prophet Benjamin. They're bombing that. Summary of Aardvark land attacks and violations in southern Lebanon since this morning. Artillery shelling. Forced detonations. Forced evacuations. Demolitions. They're demolishing caves, homes, drone attacks, sound bombs, tanks, more drone attacks. Aardvark occupation forces drop illumination flare over Ali al-Tahir Hill in southern Lebanon. Some images here of that. Aardvark land army detonates 700-ton explosive near Lebanon's historic Beaufort Castle. We covered that yesterday. Quite an explosion there. quite an explosion. 700 tons of explosives. It was such a big explosion, those 700 tons of explosives, it measured 3.8 on the Richter scale. The Lebanese National Center for Geophysics reported that ground vibrations generated by the controlled demolitions overnight in Yamur al-Saqif, southern Lebanon, were compared to a magnitude 3.8 earthquake. Talk about blowing some stuff up, man. That is eerie, extremely eerie. More controlled demolitions. Kafar, Tebnit, southern Lebanon. I thought there was a ceasefire, bro. Not so much. Not so much. More from there. Kafar, Tebnit, southern Lebanon. And this goes on. Do I even need to show anymore? I mean, there's the next one. Or is this Dair Sayir Yan leveling the joint?
هذا هلا تفجير محضر سريان.
Statement from Hezbollah in all this. Statement from Hezbollah in response to ongoing Aardvark land attacks targeting southern Lebanon. They say, as part of its criminal, aggressive, and expansionist project, the Aardvark land enemy continues in the full view and hearing of the Lebanese authorities and the world to terrorize and commit crimes against southern Lebanon. This includes destroying villages, burning homes, leveling roads and fields, bombing schools and hospitals, and terrorizing innocent civilians while erasing all aspects of life in the resistant and steadfast southern Lebanon. This is a desperate attempt to prevent its honorable people from returning to their villages, homes, and fields, which they have cultivated with their sacrifice and the blood of their martyrs. Trump claims the U.S. has an understanding with Aardvark land that it will abide by the newly announced Gaza roadmap that involves Hamas storing heavy weapons and Aardvark land withdrawing its forces from Gaza. But Aardvark land officials immediately signaled opposition to key provisions, with influential far-right minister Ben-Gvir demanding continued assassinations and Palestinian expulsion. Bibi Malay has not yet commented on the deal. Trump celebrating, there's a big peace deal. And look what happened or Hamas agreed to being disarmed. Hamas said they saw a draft of the agreement. They haven't agreed to anything. And so right after that was announced by Trump, Aardvark land authorities mark a new Trump Board of Peace agreement with massive airstrikes targeting residential blocks in Gaza in the middle of the night. So this is how Aardvark celebrate peace and rub Trump's and our America's face in it one more time, like every time. Are we going to stop falling for it, Charlie Brown, and know that Lucy is going to pull the ball and you're going to try to kick it and miss and fall on your ass? Are we going to finally get it? So Trump says, oh, yeah, there's a peace deal. Hamas says they're going to stand down, disarm, and everything's going to be cool. Aardvark land says, watch this. We're literally Charlie Brown and Millet Bibi is freaking Lucy holding the football, if you get that analogy. And hey, man, we're done. Come on. Enough. Okay. We're like, enough. And so we run up there. Okay, enough. And then pulls the ball. We go to kick it, fall on our ass. Like, damn, man. It has to all be fake, right? It has to all be fake and gay. And this is all bullshit. Real people are dying, as you can see. But the geopolitical theater of Trump saying, oh, yeah, peace, everything's cool. We agree with the Hamas. They're going to stand down. They're going to disarm. It's all cool. Come on, man. You're going to take – that's literally Bibi Millet walking up and just geopolitically, diplomatically slapping you in the face, dude. You're going to take that, Mr. Tough Guy Trump? Well, yeah, he is. It's all bullshit. And the genocide continues. It's pretty damn frustrating. Yeah, Aardvark land bombs Gaza, killing Palestinians hours after Trump declares historic peace breakthrough. Come on, man. You know, it's too much. The whole thing's been too much, but I mean, today it's just too much, man. Several Palestinians were injured in Aardvark land drone strikes in Gaza City. That's in the daytime. Level in the joint, as per usual. There's not much more left to level there, honestly. They're running out of targets. What they say, they occupy 70% already. So 30 more percent to demolish. Yeah, there's a big drop site says they obtained the terms Hamas and Palestinian factions agreed to regarding Gaza's governance and the resistance weapons. The document obtained by drop site details the two most continuous clauses of the agreement. Like, I don't even know why I read it, because it doesn't even matter. I'm not even going to read the whole thing. At one point in time in all of this, I remember in the reporting, these agreements would come out. I'd be all excited. Okay, they're going to agree. There's finally going to be a peace deal. They're going to stop genociding these kids, right? And then it would all turn out to be bullshit. And so that's what I assume all this is. They've told us, right? They've told us many times they're hell-bent on building out the greater Aardvark land project. They're taking all of that land. They're taking Syria. They're taking Lebanon. They're taking Gaza. They're taking the occupied West Bank. They're going to take some of Egypt. They're going to take some of Jordan. They're taking it all. Nobody's stopping them. So that's what they're going to go about doing. And all these agreements, peace deals, it's bullshit. Ceasefires. Because they don't abide by it. They're like, yeah, ceasefire. Boom. It shoots you right in the face. It's like, unbelievable, but not really, because we know who they are, right? Yeah, another report. Hamas declares Gaza disarmament deal conditional upon Aardvark land withdrawal. Yeah, so it's not going to happen. And I saw another report. They're like, yeah, we saw the draft. We didn't sign anything. Trump already said, oh, yeah, peace, everything's wonderful. Yeah, really? Let's see. Yeah, draft deal. They say, yes, they say, yeah, we saw the draft deal. Here's Ben Gavir. He says the draft agreement published by the, quote, Peace Council is not acceptable to Aardvark land. Nothing will ever be acceptable to them. After the October 7th massacre, the blood of every Hamas man is forfeit, and therefore a commitment to cease the eliminations of the terrorist organizations murderers is tantamount to consenting for Hamas to regroup toward the next massacre. The targeted killings in Gaza must continue. Encouraging immigration must happen. Aardvark land must win. Is that right there? Yeah. They're telling you, cease whatever agreement. Ha, ha, ha. They will not abide. Palestinian man shot in the abdomen by ultra-Zionist settlers during a raid in the occupied West Bank. Earlier today, ultra-Zionist settlers attacked cemetery, destroying the grave sites of dead Palestinians. You can see right there. And they've said, right, the point of these attacks is so you have nothing to go back to. They'll destroy your graves, destroy any links you got to the land they're taking away. So you have no, and then they literally take you away. They whack you as well. But that's what they've said. That's what they're going about doing here now. Ultra-Zionist settler attacks leave 10 injured, including 4 children in the occupied West Bank. Attacks earlier today. Dozens of ultra-Zionist settlers accompanied by occupation forces stormed the Junaid neighborhood west of Nablus earlier today, launching coordinated assaults that left at least 10 Palestinians injured, including 4 children. Security personnel and Aardvark land ultra-Zionist settlers forced their way into residential sectors while deploying heavy volleys of tear gas directly into homes and public places, causing widespread cases of acute suffocation among residents. The coordinated incursions expanded across multiple districts throughout the occupied West Bank, resulting in widespread structural vandalism, physical assaults on local inhabitants, and multiple arbitrary arrests. And final report of the day here on this Friday is that they investigated themselves and found no wrongdoing. So that's good here, as per usual. Aardvark land closes case into brutal 2023 torture of Palestinians by soldiers and settlers. No one charged. There you go. They investigated themselves and found no wrongdoings. I believe them personally. But yeah, IDF closes case into ruthless 2023 assault of Palestinians by settlers, soldiers without charges. Yeah, they're probably given awards. Well, they're given land and all the spoils of the war. So they'll probably be given medals as well there for their efforts. All right, let's check in on the latest headlines out of Iran International, and then we'll get out of here on this Friday. Have we started bombing Iran? Right now, let's see. U.S. aardvark land plan, possible Iran energy strikes. We covered that out of ZBS News at the beginning. Iran war strains U.S. missile defense stockpiles. We've been covering that all this week. U.S. has no role in Strait of Hormuz, military advisor to Supreme Leader says in our Constitution that we're tasked to be police of the Strait of Hormuz, because as Huckabee has told us, aardvarks founded America. So there you go. If you buy that, I got safe passage to the Strait of Hormuz to sell you. You know what I'm saying? It's just Houthis maritime body denies plans to impose fees on ships in Bab al-Mandeb Strait there. They just say, oh, it's a environmental fee. It's a administrative fee. We're not charging you a toll. Drive by here and without our okay, we'll shoot you in the face. It's a racket here now. The troll on the bridge, toll charge, but the troll on the strait. But hey, there's no fee to pass by here. IRGC affiliated FARS lists regional energy sites as possible Iranian targets. Yeah. So over the weekend, looks like there's going to be another giant, maybe happening now, maybe happening at any time here going forward, a major bombing campaign against Iran. Finally, headlines out of Al Jazeera. Trump threatens strikes. Iran says it has no plan to respond. IRGC strikes on U.S. targets in Kuwait early this morning, early Friday. Aardvark land launches air attacks across Gaza after Hamas agrees to peace plan. Covered that. Iran warns U.S. blockade risks global energy disruption. There's already that's the point of all of this. And then that leads to global famine. And that is the point of this. Lebanon's prime minister calls latest aardvark land attack a flagrant breach of sovereignty. I thought we had a ceasefire, bro. Huh? Yeah, obviously it's a flagrant breach of sovereignty. They're bombing the hell out of your country, and you just lay down and lick Trump's freaking shoes. Lick the little Marco Rubio's shoes that don't fit him right. All right. Let's head over to the channels now. Check out Odysee and see if we have any viewers over there. A few on this Friday, I see. There's a few people in the chat. Shout out to the chat on Odysee. Thank you for tuning in. John Gurr, Highland, Fat Bob, shout out to you guys. Thank you for tuning in. That's another weapon they're using against us right there. Right, John? He's talking about they won't enforce. They're allowing. Well, they're trying to engineer a race war. Is what they're trying to do, and it's obvious, yeah. Shout out to Pink Vegas there in the chat. too much chatting. Well, they're keeping they're having a great conversation in the Odysee chat. So if you want some respectful, informative, high IQ chat, it's on the Odysee. Okay, just to let you guys know, because sometimes people say, "Well, I was in that chat and there was nobody even there, or there's a bunch of a-holes or whatever." I say good night, but I can't quit Weaponized News. Fat Bob. Let's see. All right, shout out to Fat Bob. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're doing well in your challenges there, as we had talked about. All right, thank you for tuning in on Odysee, X, Kick, Bitchute, Substack, Rumble, and YouTube. Let's head over to those channels and we'll wrap it up. Are we having a boiler room? Did Ruckus plug boiler room? Let's see. No boiler room, he says. No boiler room tonight, Ruckus says. Shout out to Ruckus, A-Dub, and Fat on the YouTube there. On the Rumble, shout out to Karen, Strong, Carrie. Thank you guys for joining us on this Friday. For all future price peasants, Pete says. I saw a post, somebody was saying that if people are finally figuring out that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you elect as president. The government agenda moves on. Maybe there's a little few tweaks in here and there domestically, but overall, it just marches forward, the agenda. Blame it on Tampon Tim. He is a good scapegoat, right? Better than blaming it on Iran, but what would it even make a difference? We're going to bomb the hell out of them anyway, so probably was Iran. I'm so sick and tired of these Democrat Fs who won't get back in the closet where they belong. They refuse to believe that their party is finished. Huh? Shut up, Democrat. You lost. Your party sucks. America hates your guts. I don't know. Is you talking to somebody in the chat or me? I'm nonpartisan, bro. Drones. I do not like them on a boat. I do not like them with a goat. It's a good one there, Ruckus. Yeah. Especially that creepy goat one, right? We covered that yesterday. That's blue wave is coming. Yeah, I agree. Not that I particularly would like that or enjoy that. But yeah, and you could thank Trump. Yeah, Trump is your daddy, they say. That's so lame. It's got to be bots, right? Like you enjoy you're really happy about the war in Iran and the massive inflation it's caused. Like you're really happy about that. So what is Trump going to do with the IRGC? Well, he didn't have to ever do anything. We attacked them, bro. On bunk ass Bibi Malay con job. U.S. intelligence and the State Department told Trump that Iran was not an imminent nuclear threat. We covered and debunked this whole stupid thing many times, throughout the war here now. Let's see. Holmes says idiots haven't realized Masons created the system, or maybe they are naive. Yeah. I hear you, Hum. It's not just them though, it's a bunch of these groups, but they're the main one that they use, that these occultists use, are the Masons, yeah. Because they have the whole structure set up, and then they go in there and the dark occultists abuse it. Let's see. I'm confused. Were the radical box cutter algae bandits, or wasn't there? Trump wouldn't have actually lied, right? That would be weird. Yeah, I don't know. The official story said that 16 of the 19 hijackers, something like that, were from Saudi Arabia. They've never answered for that. There's some lawsuits still. The victims' families are trying to sue Saudi Arabia. But, I mean, did they even get a ruling? Maybe they even got a ruling. I forget, but it's like we don't get much action there on 9/11 for sure. And why has Saudi Arabia never been held to account from? We bombed Afghanistan and Iraq, but not Saudi Arabia, right? For 9/11, allegedly. They say, don't worry, they all went home, all 48,000 of them. That's what they claim. That is quite a bit of, quite a lot of people to have left that quick. Well, shout out to you guys on the YouTube there. Hum and WT, Celtic. Celtic's funny. Celtic 67 says Celtic in my name should make it clear I'm not a Zionist. That's a pretty funny one. Huh? Oh man. Let's see here. You're a moron. I don't think they're even talking to me. I think it's in the chat. My producer says they're talking to me. Shout out to Denver. Gotta be bots, he says. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Sally, hello on the YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see. Gary says, I remember the Guardian civilians dancing in the streets after the terror and killing of thousands, and you want me to feel sorry for them. I want you to feel sorry for them. No, I don't want you to feel sorry for them. If you don't want to feel sorry for them, don't feel sorry for them. Understand that we've been misled about this whole situation for a very long time. Understand they're doing billion-dollar influence campaigns of Hasbro propaganda. Understand that. Look into the stand downs on October 7th. Look into the Hannibal Doctrine. Look into they created Hamas in the first place to create this exact scenario. Look into all that stuff. But what I'm telling you about Gaza and Palestine is they're using those as military laboratories to maximize and their kill rates. Okay. And they're going to use that technology potentially here on us. is why I'm saying you should be concerned for your own well-being, if not caring they're blowing up innocent women and children. So just think of that. All right. With their weaponized AI kill lists, Lavender AI, and other programs that it's come out they're using there. So just think of all of that, and don't think it can't come home here. FDR rounded up Japanese Americans and put them in internment camps in World War II. Okay, so it can and has happened here in America. Big time tyranny. All right, with that, that's all I got this Friday. I saw that one comment by Gary I wanted to address. I got to get out of here. False equivalency fallacy. Denver says unarmed civilians being murdered has nothing to do with Hamas. There you go. Or you could put it that way as well. All right, great comment there, Denver. As always, everybody do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Friday evening and weekend. Let's pray for peace. All signs point toward major escalation of this war with Iran. Be aware too out there, man. Hey, as an American, be aware out there. There's a lot of pissed off Muslims at us right now, so be aware. That is a thing. That is a thing and going on. Remember, they were waving the red flag of vengeance at old man Khomeini's funeral. A whole lot of them, man. So be aware. Let's pray for peace. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you for more.